By the late 14th century, the Byzantine Empire was crumbling. Surging westward to fill that vacuum was the rapidly expanding Ottoman Empire. Directly in its path sat a patchwork of fragmented independent states, kingdoms like Serbia, Bosnia, Albania, and Montenegro. These local defenders faced a massive disparity in military power. They were heavily outnumbered by an organized, highly supplied imperial war machine. How does a small, outgunned medieval kingdom try to survive against an unstoppable force? The Balkan resistance was not a single unified war. Instead, the decisions of these individual states give us 4 distinct case studies in asymmetrical survival. In 1389, Serbian Prince Lazar met the Ottoman advance with the most direct option available, a head-on military collision at Kosovo. The clash resulted in a brutal stalemate. By the end of the battle, both Prince Lazar and the Ottoman Sultan were dead in the mud. The Sultan was killed directly on the battlefield by a noble Serbian knight named Miloš Obilić. While the loss of its leadership cost Serbia its physical independence, contemporary chroniclers immediately recorded the battle as a deliberate, heroic defense of the Christian faith. By choosing a suicidal pitched battle against overwhelming odds, Lazar created a martyrdom narrative. That narrative outlasted the physical loss of his state. Bosnia took a completely different approach. Its kings attempted to avoid direct war by weaving through Hungarian alliances and paying financial tribute to the Ottomans. This complex web of diplomatic maneuvering bought them time, but it collapsed entirely in 1463 when Sultan Mehmed II committed to a full-scale invasion. Fleeing to his remaining strongholds, King Stephen Tomašević desperately surrendered his fortified towns in exchange for a pledge that his life would be spared. The Sultan rejected the terms, declaring the pledge invalid. Stephen was executed in his own capital, extinguishing the Bosnian kingdom. Diplomatic concessions fail when an expanding superpower realizes it has the leverage to take the entire territory by force. In Albania, George Castriot, better known as Skanderbeg, chose a third option, an aggressive guerrilla insurgency that began in 1443. Taken hostage as a boy and trained in the Ottoman graduation system, Skanderbeg leveraged his insider knowledge to desert his commanders and organize local Albanian lords. He weaponized the mountainous terrain, using rapid hit-and-run tactics and mobile defenses to disorient the larger, slower imperial armies. This chart visualizes the scale of his success over a 25-year timeline. Skanderbeg maintained an army of roughly 10,000 men, consistently repelling Ottoman forces that frequently swelled to 70,000 troops. His ability to hold off the empire earned international recognition, prompting the Pope to name him the Champion of Christ. Through disciplined guerrilla warfare, a tiny fraction of forces created a massive bottleneck that delayed a superpower's expansion for 2.5 decades. Finally, in Montenegro, ruler Ivan Crnojević realized that neither conventional battles nor tribute payments would secure long-term survival. He opted for a strategic retreat. He struck temporary deals while purposefully abandoning his vulnerable lowland capital. In 1482, he moved his people deep into a hard-to-access karst field in the mountains, establishing a new stronghold at Cetinje. There, he built a court and a monastery, ensuring this harsh, isolated terrain became an untouchable spiritual and political center. By deliberately trading arable, valuable land for an impregnable geographic fortress, Crnojević successfully preserved Montenegrin autonomy. By the early 1500s, the military reality was undeniable. The Ottoman Empire had successfully absorbed the Balkans. The physical resistance had failed. But looking at the long-term cultural survival of these populations reveals a different outcome. Lazar's battlefield sacrifice, Skanderbeg's decades of defiance, and Crnojević's mountain sanctuary forged foundational national myths. These medieval leaders transitioned from defeated kings into the cultural glue that sustained their people through centuries of Ottoman rule. While the physical kingdoms were erased from the map, their specific strategies of defiance laid the bedrock for the modern, independent nations of Eastern Europe today.